and we've been super glad to be able to be paired with you. And right now we're going into a project where we're trying to learn about like different user pain points of people who work in different kind of kitchens.
Okay.
So for you guys, I think you're the only one of the users who are in industrial kitchens. So I think it's super cool. We're so lucky to be able to come here and be able to see this, because everyone else is in their homes and like in other kind of settings. So we're really excited to be able to see your workplace. And again, thank you so much for filling out the form. We will be taking video and notes as well.
Okay.
But let me know if you want me to take out anything that you say.
No,
or
that's fine.
comment.
No worries.
Yeah. But yes, so we'll begin reviewing right now. And I just want to remind you that this is very open-ended research, so there's never any right or wrong answers. Please just be as candid as possible. And as we shared, we'll be filming everything, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first question is, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your background in cooking?
Okay, so I didn't take the normal route of going to culinary school like when I was a teenager, or starting cooking in restaurants when I was a teenager, stuff like that. I wanted to, but my dad and mom said, no, you have to go to college and
I've heard that line.
get a real job and blah, blah, blah. And then later on in life, if you decide you want to do that, then yeah, we'll support you and help you out. Okay, great, no problem. So I actually came to Cal and started studying and did the stupid thing of not finishing my degree and chasing a job for money. And so I worked in finance for 6-7 years and made nice money. It was cool, happy. But after a while, I was doing, it went from like meeting with clients like 70%, 80% of the time to doing paperwork 70, 80% of the time. And I wasn't happy with that. So I talked to my parents. I was like, hey, you remember what we talked about? And they were like, yeah, but you didn't finish your degree. I was like, true, but you see, I can support myself. I had a good career going. And they're like, okay, fine. Okay, yeah, no problem. Go to culinary school. So when I was like 28, I think I was, I went to culinary school and yeah, and I've been cooking for about 15 years now. I always cooked at home with my family. I started 3 years old with my grandmother and, all that good stuff. But, yeah, immigrant families always want you to go to college. Yeah, exactly. So
we worked so hard for us to get you here.
Exactly. It's like, I didn't spend time so you can be a fry cook and blah, blah, blah. All that good stuff.
Have you always had this passion for cooking since you were young? Because
well, I mean, I started my grandmother a lot, cooking with my grandmother, and cooking with my parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, everything like that. And then when I wanted to go to culinary school after high school, and my parents said no, and I went to culinary school. When I decided to go to culinary school, I also started, it's called staging. You basically work for free in restaurants. Because I had no experience of any kind, and they pay you an experience.
It's almost like shadowing in medical.
Exactly. So I started doing that, and I realized that because a lot of people had told me, it's like, yeah, what you see on Food Network, what you see, it's not real life. Exactly. It's not real life. So I went and worked in a couple kitchens, and I said, okay, no, I do actually like this. It's not just because culinary school is really fun. You study and practice cooking and do all kinds of cool stuff, but it's not real life, and neither is cooking at home in a kitchen. So I went and worked in a couple kitchens, realized that's what I wanted to do, and yeah, and continued that way. And luckily it worked, because I don't know what else I would have done. Otherwise, I would have had to go on a soul search. So otherwise,
you found your soul in the kitchen.
Yeah.
How long have you been working here in the international house?
About 2.5 years.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you walk me through a typical day in your kitchen?
Yeah, we get here, like I said, a little bit before 6 o'clock. I typically work in the mornings. So I get here a little bit before 6, turn on all the equipment, make sure everything's hot, start cooking breakfast, have that ready by 7:15. Either while breakfast is going, while I'm cooking breakfast, I may start a little bit of lunch, or steaming potatoes for mashed potatoes, because that just takes longer and stuff like that. Otherwise, right when breakfast finishes, we start cooking lunch. Lunch starts at 11 o'clock. So we finish that. Our afternoon cooks get here at 12:30. Then they start cooking dinner, which starts at 5 o'clock. And then in between, there's lots of overlap. So like the AM people we'll start making sure they're ready for the following couple days with their preparations. The sous chefs will help direct what needs to be done and help with the prep as well. Chef Abby, our executive chef, is actually a very hands-on executive chef. She's in there with us doing everything. So yeah, there's chefs who hide in their office all day. She's definitely not one. She loves being in the kitchen with us. So
We saw her videos online. We saw her cooking up. Like,
oh yeah, no,
stuff.
she loves being in there. So she'll help out with whatever we need, and yeah, depending on the day, we may have catering events. We may have whether it's inside the iHouse, outside events. Yeah, there may be, like you said, a theme thing. Like we just did Chinese New Year. We did Mardi Gras. We have Nowruz, which is the Persian New Year, coming up, which I'm going to be doing. Yeah, so we have different theme nights throughout, so, or theme days and nights throughout the year. Yeah, and then between usually 2, 3-ish, somewhere in there, the morning sous chefs leave, and then the evening sous chef will come between 12 and 1. They stay till 8:30, 9:30, depending on what needs to be done. Shut everything down at the end of the night, make sure everything gets put away properly, all the equipment gets turned off so the building doesn't burn down, and yeah, then they go home and the next day start all over. So
yeah, thank you so much for running me through that.
Mhm.
So during one of your shifts, can you talk to me about some of the more common tasks that you're performing as a sous chef?
well, breakfast is every day, so getting breakfast ready. So usually we have some kind of egg, some kind of, potato, whether it's fried potatoes or home fries or something like that. Some kind of vegan dish, some kind of rice, steamed vegetables, and then usually one other thing somewhere on the line. We have a very diverse clientele at the iHouse, and people will come and, depending on where they're from in the world, may ask, why am I having this for breakfast? May not realize, like, some of them don't eat eggs for breakfast. Fair enough. Some people, like people from Northern Europe, wanted, for a while we didn't have our deli set up for breakfast, like whether it's our, cold cuts and stuff like that, we didn't have that set up for breakfast. But then a lot of the Northern European kids are like, we need this, come on, that's our breakfast. And so we start putting that out for breakfast, and so we try to listen to our residents and our clientele, yeah, and see if there's anything that they definitely need, and try to balance it with what we're doing. Yeah, that's the typical daily stuff. We work with our cooks who come in on making lunch, so we always have a starch or two, whether that's rice, potatoes, things like that. We also have a couple of proteins, usually like chicken or beef, and then fish or shrimp or pork, like some combination, to allow a lot of people to eat. There's people with different dietary restrictions, whether it's health-wise or because of religion or ethnic background, whether don't eat pork, don't eat this type of meat, that type of meat. So we try to have a variety so everybody can eat something. Always try to have at least one vegan dish. We try to do more because, yeah, vegans need food too. People who are vegans need food too, but also we try to give a little bit of variety, so it's not just one thing. It's like, here, this is what you're eating today. We try to give a little bit more. And then whatever vegetables we do as well, we try to keep that in mind. And then we also always have some kind of desserts for brunch. We have lots of breakfast pastries.
I saw.
Yeah, yeah, and
I love how much you're trying to encompass, especially for such like a wide variety of students, especially because they're coming from such different backgrounds. How do you guys like manage your menu then? How do you make sure that there's enough variety for like each kind of student? Do you guys like focus on this on a weekly basis? Do you have to turn a day up?
well, the short answer is we rotate our menu
Got it.
by the semester. So every semester every quarter we'll have a full new menu. It is every semester. We'll have a full new menu at least. And then depending on seasonality, a lot of times we'll have a new menu broken up in there as well. So it's not quite a semester that we're doing. We'll have a couple different menus for the semester, but and then so we'll repeat those menus a couple, a few times, but then within each menu, it's 5 weeks of stuff. So if we repeat it, 3 times, that's 15 weeks, and you've had the same dish 3 times in almost in 3 months, 3.5 months. So we try to make it so people don't see the same dish all the time. Obviously, there's favorites. Like last night, we had honey walnut shrimp.
Oh.
We have that a fair amount because people love it. We don't.
I
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I was like, I should have ate last night. I was like, oh.
Yeah. So there's a dish like that. We try to make it more often, but otherwise, we try to rotate the dishes. So we'll have a whole new seasonal menu, and then under that, every 4 or 5 weeks, have like 4 or 5 menus under that. So, and we'll just keep doing those every 4 or 5 weeks. So yeah, we'll rotate. Yeah.
I'm really curious, just because you guys have this rotating menu, but at the same time, you have to cook for such a large quantity of students. How do you guys deal with inventory and stock when you're ordering?
It's a group effort. We have a storekeeper. He puts everything away. He communicates to us we communicate with him what we need him to bring up, what we have. He'll let us know what we're short on. We all go down to the walk-ins, take a look about what we have, what we're short on. We have kind of a running dialogue between all of us about what we need to order, things we're short on. If we need to, we just change it. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, it's like if we don't, let's say it says salmon on the menu, we have cod. Okay, it's cod today. It doesn't matter that much. It's like yeah, there is flexibility in there, but it is just a running conversation because otherwise things will get stuck in the corner somewhere and forgotten about, or so it's a daily thing where we constantly are looking at the walk-ins. So
okay, and kind of as a follow-up to that, during your shifts, for example, if today we were serving eggs with bacon, how do you, within the shift, how do you guys determine like how much you need to make?
So experience is the short answer. We used to, on brunch, we used to do bacon all the time, and we figured out that it was like we needed 25 sheet pans of bacon to fire for brunch, and we'd have a little bit left over at the end, which is fine. But yeah, just practice. Like during the week when we do sausage, for example, for breakfast, we know we have to do like 4 trays of sausage for the thing, and we'll have some left over, and that's fine. But yeah, the short answer is experience. So.
Wow. Okay. So if you guys go through, maybe like there's just more students today, and then you go through those 4 sheets of sausages, do you guys make more? Do you kind of go like, this is how much we allocated for today?
Well, it depends on the time. Like for example, if we we watch the line when it's going, we have student workers or staff or our cooks who are changing up the line. If we say that we have an hour and a half left in service and there's like 5 pieces of sausage, okay, of course we'll make more. But if we get down to like, let's say we look, there's 15 minutes left, we have half a pan of sausage, we're like, okay, that should be enough. And then all of a sudden if a huge rush comes in, we're like, there's no point to doing it because it takes 15 to 20 minutes to cook. So by the time we cook it, breakfast is over, then we'll just let that run out. And then unfortunately, if it runs out, it runs out. But we try to anticipate those things so that doesn't happen very much. But just the nature of the flow of dining is sometimes we don't know when everybody's coming. Sometimes it's nice and spread out. Sometimes like this morning we had a huge rush at the beginning of the day. It seemed like everyone came in right at the beginning. But then sometimes, yeah, it's more spread out. Sometimes everyone will come at the end. There's a big spike in the middle, or whatever it is. So it just depends on the day.
Okay,
so, yeah.
Got it. Thank you. It's amazing how flexible you guys have to be to adapt to like the situation on the spot. Can you tell me about some tasks in your daily work that involve measuring?
So one of the good things about being a cook is that, and not a pastry chef, is that measuring is not a huge part of what we do. But there are things like, for example, when you make gravy, we sometimes get gravy packets, and it'll say for this much gravy, put this much water, and that's where something like that, where we need to do, and then we'll take that gravy and then make it super nice. Like say I did like a red wine mushroom gravy with the gravy packets, so instead of just plain brown gravy, we have a red wine mushroom gravy. So, but to get that, we use the measurements on the back, so we're not doing too much. Making polenta, it's important that you do like 5 parts water, 1 part polenta. So it's roughly eyeball. We know we're putting in a gallon of polenta and we need 5 gallons of water to go in. Rice, the easy one, 1 to 1, exactly, or to the finger.
Yep.
You know?
It's like, oh,
Yeah, like in those home tricks we still use. So it's like,
that is so cool. You guys
Yeah.
also use home tricks?
yeah, exactly, because that's the best way to make rice. So we
So
do
glad we
that.
agree.
Yeah. But like, those are probably the most common. The rice is definitely the most common one, and then other than that, it depends on what we're making. So.
What was the very last dish that you made that you had to measure?
The gravy
The
this
gravy.
morning, rice on Tuesday. I made the rice. Was that today? Otherwise, no, we didn't measure anything other than the gravy today. So yeah.
Can you kind of walk me through your process of making that gravy from like end to end? What was your experience? What were your goals?
sure.
The result?
Well, so I wanted to make a nice hearty mushroom gravy. So and give it a little bit different flavor. So I did a red wine mushroom gravy. I caramelized the mushrooms really well, so it got a real nice flavor, and then added seasonings to it, and then put red wine in, let the red wine cook off, so it was almost gone, and then added the gravy mixture, let that start bubbling, let that cook for a little bit, and then just tasted as I went, added a little bit more seasonings, things like that. It came out very nice. So yeah.
Did you follow a recipe or anything, or were you just like, I think I got
It's
this?
experience. That's the problem. So a lot of the things, like there's times where we do use recipes. Typically, it's when you haven't made something before. Like working here at the iHouse, like we do cuisines from all over the world, and I'm lucky that other kitchens I've worked in, I've done cuisines from all over the world. And so there's a lot of dishes that I've made before, but there once in a while I come across one where I've never made that before. I don't know, so you quick Google recipe and see what's in there. We don't follow it like line by line, but we'll say, oh, it's 2 parts soy sauce to 1 part sesame sauce to 1 part sesame oil to 1 part cooking wine, for example, and so then we'll adjust that to the quantities that we need. So we won't look at like 2 tablespoons. We'll say, oh, it's 2 to 1 to 1, and adjust it that way. But yeah, those are for me, the few times I use recipes is when I come across something that I just haven't made before. So
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Then have you encountered any challenges or frustrations with your current measuring tools or methods?
Not too much. Every once in a while, something will break. It happens. Order a new one. And just in that time where we don't have it, I wish I had that. That's fine.
Okay. Thank you. And as a sous chef, how do you prioritize efficiency and accuracy in your kitchen workflow?
A lot of it is trying to be monotonous and do the same thing over and over and over, day by day, just at the same time, do the same thing over and over and over, and just have that routine. There's definitely variance day by day as to what we need based on what we're cooking, but like I said, a lot of times it's okay up until this time we're doing breakfast, and within the breakfast, okay, now I've got to put the potatoes, now I've got to put the sausage, now I've got to do this. So just having that constant routine helps, and then that helps you be efficient. Another thing is keeping in mind what your goals are, like your dishes for the next couple days, so you know what to prepare for those next couple days, or what to have prepared for those next couple days, so you're not getting caught at the last second. It's like, oh my god, we need bell peppers, and have to slice a ton of bell peppers. It's like, no, we just need this at some point. So excuse me, whoever has free hands, please cut bell peppers, yeah.
Thank you. And I know this differs for every single chef, so personally for you, what do you think is the most important quality of food that you try to bring to people?
The kitchens I've always worked in, flavor is the most important thing. Obviously I try to make things look nice too, but for me, flavor is the most important thing. If it tastes good, it'll make people happy. That's why I always enjoy making stews the most, because you can really put time and
Let it simmer.
love, yeah, exactly, and all
You
that
taste
stuff
the
into
love
it,
in
yeah.
warmth.
So but I prefer things like that to roasting chicken. I mean, you can obviously make really good tasting roasted chicken, but to me it's not the same. I prefer things that you can take time and add things, stuff like that. So
I love that view.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm really curious then, because you said that flavor is one of the things that you value the most and that you care about the most. But flavor, of course, is very subjective to a lot of different people. So as you're making a dish, for example, like this gravy, how do you really determine if you're like, oh, as long as I'm satisfied with it, I think this is good to put out? Or do you guys kind of have a system where it's just like, oh, we want to try this, maybe I'll have a couple chefs taste test this and then we'll release it tomorrow? Do you have a system for determining maybe this is okay for us to give to students?
Well, typically we all taste each other's food, like just as it is. Like today, Simon made our mashed potatoes, one of our cooks, and so I know he knows how to make mashed potatoes. He made them 100 times. He still gives me a spoon. I taste it. It's like I know his mashed potatoes are good. Then he'll ask me, it's like, do you think he needs more salt? Yeah, today a little bit. No problem. And stuff like that. And I'll give him something. Simon, what do you think of this? And he'll tell me. So whatever it is. So we typically taste each other's food. Typically, as long as everybody agrees as to what's going on, chances are it's good, because there is talent in the kitchen. Like people are good cooks, and we're very lucky that we have a lot of good cooks in the kitchen. So yeah, as long as pretty much everybody's on the same page, it tends to work out. Obviously, sometimes people say, I didn't like that. Sorry. It's like next time we'll try something else, or have you tried one of our other items, or things like that. Because again, it's like people come from all over the world. With a lot of our students from Africa, they don't like sweet meat. They didn't like, last semester, that was one comment we got a lot, was we don't like sweet meat. So they don't like sugar, sugar marinated meat, which in a lot of Asian cuisine, you have sugar and marinades and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so they didn't like that. Okay, great. So on those days, we would try to have another option which was not sweet, whether that was, just more simply seasoned fish or something else. So, yeah, because sometimes you make teriyaki chicken and it's delicious and everybody agrees and it's fantastic, but you just may come from a culture that you don't like that, and that's fine. It's no problem. So we try to make something else. So not everything is the same every day. So people can eat different things. So.
Your entire kitchen is just so receptive to student feedback. How do you guys collect the student feedback?
There's a survey that goes out, and it's something like I think it's 6% of the students residents completed every week, and
every week.
I think it's every week.
Okay.
Week or every 2 weeks, I forgot exactly, but it's a regular survey that goes out, and that's where we get most of our stuff. Sometimes they're just not helpful. Sometimes they're very helpful. So it depends on the week. Someone says, oh, yeah, everything's great. Okay, that's nice, thank you, but it doesn't help us, because there's no, even if it's, good comments, we want details and stuff. So it's like, they say, oh, everything's great, then it doesn't do a lot for us. We'd rather you say, oh, today, this chicken was great, and I really liked the seasoning on this fish, or the yogurt was awesome, and this was awesome. Like, specifics are more important to us, even if it is negative. If it is saying, oh, I didn't like this because of blah, 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 blah. So.
Absolutely. Thank you. And as you talk about it, it's like, I really admire how much you guys prioritize like fresh produce in this kitchen. The students are so lucky to be able to eat such healthy food. Like, we're living off instant ramen over here.
No, I remember when I was in school here at Cal Dining, it wasn't
that was
cool. Yeah, exactly.
I was like, this is not what we eat on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So if you guys are working with fresh produce all the time, do you guys as chefs ever have any problems like maintaining the freshness of produce, or kind of?
I mean, it's not about maintaining the freshness. Sometimes it's more about seasonality. Like, the biggest challenge we have is with fruit. We always try to have fresh cut fruit, fresh strawberries, something like that for people to eat. And watermelon is a lot of people's favorite, so we try to get watermelon. It's wintertime right now, and the watermelon, I mean, they come from further south, so a lot of them are okay. And it's winter watermelon. It's not going to be as sweet as summer watermelon, fine. But then some of them come in and they're just rotten inside. Like, you cut it open and it's that bad look inside, and you're like, okay, well, garbage, sorry. And then, so that's the biggest challenge we have. We try not to order things that are out of season except for fruit, because we have to. But even then, like, our purveyors, like, for example, they get fruit from different places. Like, right now our melons, I think, are coming from Honduras and Guatemala, as opposed to Mexico and California in the summertime, where we get a lot of our stuff is actually from California in the summertime. So it depends on the weather, where they grow them and stuff like that. So, but even with that, you can't always control it just may not be a good time for this. So like last winter we didn't order watermelons for a month and a half or something like that. We just stopped because a few batches we got in were just like not good. Yeah, so like, this isn't worth it, forget it, we're wasting money, stop, we'll pick it up again and we'll try again in March. And this was in January or February we started, so we said that, so we'll do things like that.
And I just want to hop back to one point that you also mentioned before, where it's just like, oh, if, for example, breakfast is coming to a close and we're moving into lunch, we want to make sure we don't have too much leftovers because that would go to waste. I'm curious as to what you guys' food waste management system looks like and what happens with leftover food. From
Well, a lot of the stuff doesn't go to waste. There's very little that actually goes to waste. Usually we try to recycle it and do something else with it, whether it's like today's the sausage and potato soup was the leftover sausage from yesterday, the leftover mashed potatoes from yesterday, the leftover, so things like that we'll try to recycle. We made, last week we had a lot of leftover mashed potatoes. We made potato cakes with them one day for lunch. I mean, there are times where there is waste, and that is what it is, but we'll always try to repurpose things as much as possible because we don't want to waste food. I mean, like we all feel bad when we see something going in the garbage. We're like,
yeah.
It's like we have to, but it's like, sorry. It's like, yeah, and then also with that, part of it is the other side is experience also, and how much to make, how much to make of what. Like, we'll make like 6 cases of chicken, which is 240 pounds of chicken for lunch or for dinner. And typically we'll have, that'll be enough for lunch. And you saw how the line was like an L shape?
Yeah.
So that first part will be whatever lunch or dinner is. And then that second part over there for dinner will usually, if we have like, whether it's leftover chicken, leftover fish, whatever, we'll put on that side so people can also have it again if they liked it, or if they're just not in the mood for what's there, they can have that. It gives them more options. And that way, we'll use some of it that way so people can actually enjoy it first. And then at that point, if there's anything left over, then we start worrying about repurposing it into something else. So.
Can you tell me something that's your favorite part of being in industrial, kind of like working as a chef in like a more industrial area versus like one of the most challenging things?
I like the variety of food that we make. Restaurants I've worked in, even, I worked at this one restaurant in Oakland called Beowulf, and we would change our menu every month, and so we had a lot of variety there. But I was there for 2.5, 3 years, something like that. So by the third time through, I was like, okay, this menu again, okay. Yeah, exactly. So having the variety of cuisine that we make in the kitchen makes things very nice. We're able to do more things than at restaurants because, restaurants have to focus on what their clientele is. They can't say, oh, we're the whatever restaurant and make food from everywhere. They have to specialize more, whereas we have more free reign to do things. Same time, again, that is also a challenge because you have to learn how to cook a lot of different things. So, like for me, it was always East Asian food was what I had least experience in. And so now whenever somebody's cooking, whether it's Chinese, Korean, Japanese, I'm always watching to learn more and stuff, because just growing up, my family's not Asian, and then I never worked in an Asian restaurant, like an East Asian restaurant. And the food from where my family is from isn't similar to East Asian food at all. Other than rice, but that's separate. Everyone in Asia eats rice. My family's from Iran, so we eat rice with everything. It's rice with blank in Iran, basically. And so, like when it comes to Indian food, there's a lot of similarity between Indian food and Iranian food and Persian food. We present things similarly. We cook things similarly, slightly different ingredients, obviously, but a lot of techniques are the same. Whereas once you pass India, it changes again. And so,
drastically.
Yeah, exactly. So, so that's my biggest challenge, is learning things that I haven't made before. And also, like the Latin American cuisines too have a lot of similarities just because of history. When Arabs ruled Spain right before they went to the New World and took everything over there, and so there was a lot of crossover between Spain and the Middle East and food. So like whether it's Mexican food, the techniques a lot of them are the same. Flavors a lot of times are the same. Things like that. So
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't want to. I really want us to get back in the kitchen as well, so you can look over your chefs.
okay.
So I have one last question for you. This is just a little more fun, open-ended question. But what is your favorite meal to make, and what is maybe your favorite methodology or favorite tool?
Well, I'll give you two. So one of my favorite thing is it's Iranian food. It's called orme sabzi. It's a stew that's made with herbs and meat, and it's basically an herb and kidney bean and meat stew. And it's one of those that it has to cook for like 2 hours, otherwise it doesn't taste right. Like
Flavors
at
don't come
least 2 hours. Yeah, it doesn't mix right, and it'll still taste fine, but it doesn't work. So it doesn't work the same way. So that's one of my favorite ones to cook. You have to start off. You have to fry the herbs, and then fry the meat, fry the onions, add everything together. So yeah, exactly. Put everything together. Let it stew for a while. Then spices in there first to toast and everything. And so that's one where it's like you build layer by layer by layer, put lots of love into it, everything like that. And another one, it's along similar things. I love cooking food from Louisiana and Cajun food, and it's because of that you're able to put lots of love into it, let things go. And so I love making gumbo, I love making jambalaya, I love making red beans and rice, just things like that that you really, really put your soul into it and make it really good. So
Soul food.
Yeah.
To the core.
so
Thank you so much for answering all of our questions today. I think, do you guys have any other particular questions before we head into the kitchen? No? Is everyone all good? Okay, then maybe we can head into the kitchen.
okay,
Make sure everything is still going well.
it should be. I would have heard